Hi, I'm Brian and I'm recording this video about Reverend Emmett Fox, who was a minister at the Divine Science Church of the Healing Christ in New York toward the beginning of the 20th century. Divine Science teaches that prayer is the practice of the presence of God. Every Christian faith that I'm familiar with considers God omnipresent, and the Divine Science Church teaches us to recognize that and to actively commune with God in our prayers. Reverend Fox published a pamphlet and republished the content of his pamphlet on the Lord's Prayer in his book, The Sermon on the Mount. And for about the last year, I have been meditating daily on the Lord's Prayer, and I wanted to share some of those thoughts with you. The prayer begins, "Our Father," and Jesus was very deliberate when he gave this prayer during the Sermon on the Mount. In his choice of the words, "Our Father," Jesus didn't say, "My Father." He put us on the same footing as himself. He made us his brethren in his choice of the plural pronoun. And he also establishes us, each of us, as the Son of God. He repeats this multiple times at his trial, making reference to the 82nd Psalm, in which we are told that we are gods or we are godlike creatures, depending upon which version of the Bible you're reading. And the Lord's Prayer goes on to say, "Our Father in heaven," recognizing that while we may be God's children, there is a separation between us and God, and specifically that difference is that while we are the manifestation of God, God is the cause. God is the thought that comes before the outward manifestation of God's thoughts. And I often try to think back in my meditations beyond the thought itself to the thinker, the being that just is. And as we know in the Bible, God tells us his name is "I am that I am." And I like to get myself to a place where I am purely contemplating that I am without any other thoughts than just that state of being. "Hallowed be thy name" is important to recall that the word hallowed meant whole and everything. And before it meant whole and everything, it meant safe. And we should remember that when we are thinking through the verse, "Hallowed be thy name," that we remember that God is everything, and God is a very, very safe place to be. Communing with God is a safe act. "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done" tells us what we need to know about what we're here for. We're here to do the best job we can to bring about God's will on earth as it is in heaven. Both tells us where and also how we will bring about God's will, that the thought of how we will bring about God's will then manifest itself in the realization of God's will here on earth. "Give us this day our daily bread" will tells us that we will manifest everything that we need to live and thrive and continue doing the best job we can to bring about God's will. And forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. We should not harbor grudges because everybody trespasses against others, and we're no exception, and we certainly would like our trespasses to be forgiven. And as we're forgiving the trespasses of others, let's not forget to forgive ourselves. We record everything that we do somewhere, and it's very important that we somehow manage to shed our guilt about things that we do, either great or slight, and leave those things behind us, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, is just a request that as our power of prayer becomes greater, that we are always reminded that we use it only for good. And we should remember that our power of prayer will be limited in proportion to our ability to restrict its use for good. For thine art the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. And when I say this affirmation, I like to remind myself that God is working through me. God is cause, I am manifestation. And that's about it. Thank you very much for spending this time with me, and I'll look forward to seeing you again in the future.